Hey, what's up? It's Danaya Azure. Be sure to follow me all over social media at Danaya Azure, DANAYAAZURE, and like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Danaya Designs for You, facebook.com/Danaya Azure Radio, and be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube. Just type in Danaya Azure.
Hey, it's your boy Forrest of Forrest Entertainment. You're tuned in to Danaya Azure Radio on the Legacy Platform service.
Welcome. This is Danaya Azure Radio. I have the owner of Forrest Entertainment and HFL Magazine. Kevin Forrest is back in the building. How have you been? Oh, my God, it's been forever.
What's going on? Yeah, it's been a while. I'm here. I'm doing good.
So this is the 10th year of HFL Magazine. Yeah. Sir, the last time you were on was the 3rd year anniversary. How does this feel?
Yeah. It's amazing, like to do it this long and to do it independent, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's an incredible feeling to know that we were able to be as competitive as we've been and put out quality content for such a long time and be a part of so many people's lives, you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing.
What's so funny about this whole situation is the last time you came on, I was just kind of helping you out a little bit, and I was a fan of the magazine. And now I can proudly say that I am on staff at HFL Magazine, and it is the best feeling ever.
Definitely one of the best people I've ever worked with. Totally vibe. Like, it's been an amazing ride.
I said every time we talk about the magazine, I think the biggest thing about HFL Magazine is that we support independent artists, we support independent businesses, and we also showcase artists that not necessarily are. Well, they were mainstream, but they've kind of fallen back for a little bit, but they're still icons. Mm-hmm. So we're giving them their flowers as they're here. It was just amazing. But the biggest thing is the way that this magazine supports Black women and appreciates Black women and doesn't exploit Black women, like so many other magazines do that, which drives me insane. And that's why I've always said that was the biggest thing. That was my biggest thing. Yeah. Was that I was able to show my mother the magazine that I was featured in, and that was just the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I think that was important. Like, that was an important point for me when I started the magazine. Even if I went with the category of like beauty of the month or vision of beauty or something like that, it was still someone that, like, although they may have been like aesthetically appealing, they were still doing other major things, and you had to appreciate their mind and respect them as individuals. It wasn't like, XYZ stripper from wherever, you know what I'm saying, like from some random place. It was like, these were like doctors, lawyers, business women, managers, marketers, CEOs, shop owners. These were people that were doing some major things, and they just happen to be pretty. And we didn't really stick to a particular body type either. Like, it was like, we tried to definitely run the gamut with that because, women are pretty in all types, especially Black women. So.
Definitely. What do you think is the main thing that makes HFL Magazine stand out above the rest?
I think it's really the fusion blend that we have without the politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we do independent, but we also do mainstream, and we meld it together so that everyone is presented in an iconic way. So there's no lesser than when it comes to HFL Mag. Everybody is equally represented, and it's not like someone's getting a corner of a page, while the cover story is getting 15 pages, and I think there's a good equal representation of both sides of it. And because of that, it puts people in a position where they feel like, man, I could be in here too. I could be, showcased and put out there. What I'm doing is just as important as the person I see on TMZ or on The Source or, on VH1 or any of those channels. Like, I matter also. I think that melding that and kind of still giving it to the people, what I mean, making the people an important part of HFL, I think that helps it to stand apart, because a lot of times you have these other publications and they're overcharging people, because they have one single person on the cover who's a notable, celebrity. And at HFL, we don't do that, our cost points are reasonable, and a lot of times people just get featured because they're just doing great things, and we feel like the readers need to know about it. So.
Absolutely. And Kevin Forrest, owner of HFL Magazine and K-Force Entertainment, is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio. The one thing that I would say that also stands out about HFL is that you've done it before I got there. You just know how to take talent. Like, when somebody's on their cusp and are about to blow.
Yeah.
Which is pretty dope.
We've been very fortunate. Yeah, we've been very fortunate in that way. Where and that's another thing to why you and I vibe, because we're both able to do that. So what it's become is the legacy of HFL is really the ability to spot talent early, and then as these people continue to become larger or to go into other avenues and become large in those avenues, there's still an affiliation with HFL Magazine on that journey. And that's a really big thing. A lot of times, when someone's already at the top of their game, now you're clamoring and competing, with all of these other places, that now finally recognize them, but we get a different level of respect from the people that we feature because we saw them when no one else did. You know what I mean? And that definitely is always something that I take seriously, and I'm honored to be able to be a part of so many beginning stories.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, before Kevin created HFL, he was a successful music producer, an internationally known music producer. So what made you shift from music into creating the magazine?
That's a great question. I mean, it was really just opportunities or lack of opportunity. You know what I mean? Like I had to get to a certain level, before anyone would even want to hear my story or what I was about. And as I was getting there, I just kept thinking if I ever had the opportunity, I would create a platform where people that are serious about their craft or what they're doing will be able to get that kind of opportunity and be able to leverage it to continue to be great. And so I started with k4sent.com, and that site had, I think, 800,000 hits in 6 months at the time. And then I transitioned k4sent.com into HFL Magazine, into the print and digital publication. So
now that's another question. So there are all these digital magazines out there. What made you decide to go for the digital and print combination? Because you could have just gone digital just like everybody else. Yeah. So why was it so important for you to have the digital and the print?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make sure that I covered all bases because I knew that there were people that even if it wasn't, even if they weren't necessarily into print publications, that, they would want to have that, as a keepsake for them or their family or their grandparents, that don't go on the internet, And there's something about having something tangible. It's like a trophy, right? Like you can't hold a digital print or a digital cover of yourself. You know what I'm saying? but you can hold a print magazine. You can frame it. You can say, I remember the time when I was featured in the magazine with, Gunplay from Maybach Music, or Rashida Frost, or, Nikki Lynette, or like you can say these things and you have something tangible to hold and to flip through, that is of quality, and it counts. It's like an achievement. So it was important for me to be able to kind of cover all of the bases, because you're definitely right. I mean, if I would have done it all digital, it would have cost me a lot less. Like, I spend a lot of money keeping it in print. and when the digital doesn't cost me, or anyone who does digital, it doesn't cost them anything,
Right.
So, yeah, but it was important for me to be able to cover all of those bases for the people that are on the internet regularly, and even for those that aren't,
Absolutely. And Kevin Forrest, owner of HFL Magazine and K4S Entertainment, is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio. Oh, my goodness. There's so many questions that I have when it comes to this. But what would you say, now think about this, I know you've had 10 years of interviews. What would you say was your most memorable interview, and why?
I think my most memorable interview, that's a tough one, because they're all memorable for specific reasons, and I think I do have like a top two, so I'll probably do both. So I did an interview with an independent music producer named Tough Junkie in the beginning of my career, and it was memorable because in that interview I felt like the knowledge that he was given, the wisdom that he was given, I was able to actually apply it to my life. Like, his interview was one of the reasons why I understood that it is possible to be successful as an entrepreneur, because he made a very good point, and I'll never forget it. He said to me, the problem is that people think that they have to be rich, but it's not that you have to be rich. You have to be able to cover whatever your expenses are, and then whatever you have left is now become your leisure money, right? So when we feel like we're trapped in a call center or in a 9-to-5 job or whatever, it's not really that you're trapped. It's that you haven't figured out how to monetize your gift to replace that income. We keep thinking we need to monetize our gift to be rich. But if you can monetize it just to replace your income, you put yourself in a position where then you can kind of monetize it to be even more successful, because now you have the freedom that you don't have when you're, clocking in and making other people rich that don't care about you. So,
right.
So that interview was memorable for me. Another interview that was memorable for me, was Gunplay from Maybach Music, because when I did an interview with Gunplay, he was driving in his car at the time, and I think he may have been like medicated, because he was saying a lot of paranoid, a lot of paranoid things, and I could tell he was swerving in traffic, and I was like, damn, if I get this guy killed by being on the phone with this guy, like, this is going to be a
problem. Oh, my goodness.
So he's, like, swerving, and we're talking about, like, swastikas and all kinds of other, like, weird-ass conspiracy theory shit, because he was just kind of out there. And so that was another memorable one for me. I was like, we just need to get through this. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. Like, it sounds like you're going like 90 on like Ocean Drive right now. So I don't know, but yeah, like, that was a wild interview. I mean, I've had a couple. You know what I mean? There's a couple of them that are, pretty memorable to me. But those two stick out the most because that one with him was a little wild, and then the other one was more educational,
Yeah, definitely. So what would you say has been some of your struggles with the magazine, and what did you do to overcome them?
I think like with any independent business, one of the biggest struggles is being taken seriously, right? Because you're not co-signed by a major. It wasn't like we were being published by like XXL or The Source or something like that. Like I was publishing it myself. So like having people take it seriously was probably the most difficult. The only way I was really able to overcome that was in my presentation of the magazine. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to make it look as good as those other publications, if not better, in order to bypass that. And I would tell anybody in entrepreneurship, it's about your visual, it's about your presentation. If people think your product is bigger or more important than it may be at the time, they're more likely to jump on board to that product. And so we did that with HFL. We started out, with a quick free template or whatever, and then when I was able to kind of get some money coming in from, selling it out of the trunk of my car, it was then time to upgrade the visual. Once the visual got upgraded, then it was easier, right? Because I was still early in the game, so it wasn't like I had a slew of celebrities, kind of going through HFL, but I was able to present a more polished product, and that's always going to be, the important thing. The more polished your product is, the easier it is to sell the idea or the concept or whatever to other people.
Definitely. And it's always been a polished product, and I think that's a big thing too. Because like I know whenever I bring it out, because I've been buying it since the minute my jewelry got featured, so I've been buying it ever since.
Yeah, it's like the third issue or something like that. Yeah.
Yep, the third issue. Yep. And so I think I missed like one or something. But the crazy part was like when I would show it to people, it's just the reaction was like, wow, where is this from? And it's so funny because they're always like, this is yours. I'm like, no. The owner's in Florida. I'm like, no, this is not mine. The owner's in Florida. But this is before I even got to be a part of the staff. It was super dope, to know that people were thinking because of how I'm showcasing it, because I'm taking it everywhere I'm going. People are like, "This is yours." Like, no, I'm just helping to promote it because my jewelry's featured. That kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that was but that's the thing though, that presentation, like obviously when you're independent, you have to start somewhere. But the goal is to not look independent, even though you are independent. Like you have to be able to compete, right? Because even if you're trying to create your own little niche, maybe you don't need the millions of followers, viewers, or whatever. But if you're still just trying to convince 300 people, that to fuck with your product, you have to have a product that's comparable to the ones that millions of people are buying. Otherwise, those 300 people still won't buy into the product.
Yep. And Kevin Forrest, the owner of HFL Magazine and Forrest Entertainment, is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio. And I remember the very first project that I worked on for HFL, officially, was when I featured my girl, Yaya. Y'all have heard her music. You hear it every time on Danaya Azure Radio, and you hear it on her story broadcast as well. So the dopest part about this was I found out that she was featured on the cover like the day before it was going to drop, and I almost hit the floor because for those of you who don't know, the first time I was featured, I had a very, very small feature on the cover, but like the bigger feature was inside, and I was trying to explain that, And I was so happy because I didn't have to explain where the jewelry was. It's like right on the front cover. I was at the shoot that we did it at. You know, it was featuring a connector, and my mom loved that cover to the point of, like, I actually gave it to her as a gift for her birthday at one point, you know, because that was her favorite issue, because that was the first time that she got to see her baby's work on the cover of a magazine, and it was a dope magazine. It wasn't just like, you know, something small, whatever. You could visually see it, and it was an artist that she loved as a daughter as well. So, you know, shout out to her. Rest in peace, Mom. Like, she was incredible, and she loved the magazine. Like, every time it came out, she was so proud. You know, it was a beautiful moment. It really, really was. And she was just really, really encouraging when it came to me writing for the magazine. That was the biggest thing. She was like, because she knows that I do a lot of work, and she wanted to make sure that I was taken care of in terms of, you know, what I was doing. And so she was happy to see that I was getting recognized for once. So I thank you for that, because that was a big, big step for me, to be able to now go around and be like, yes, I wrote that. You know, I write for this. Like, I work here. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, that's where it started. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like it was a dope piece. You know, the photograph was dope. You know, like you really spearheaded that issue, and you know, and that was kind of like the start of like a beautiful working relationship. You know.
Yes. You know, and I think and I can say for me for sure that I know when it comes to independent artists and featuring independence, it's so important, because if you feature them now, when they get bigger, they remember you. Yeah. And I always talk about my story when it comes to Sandy Red. Shout out to Sandy Red Music. You guys hear her on Danaya Azure Radio in rotation as well. She was featured on The Voice, but I knew her before she was featured on The Voice. And the line that stands out to me and always will was when you were at the Vic Hotel at a celebrity open mic, and she comes up to me and says, "Do you know who's performing?" I said, "No." She's like, "But you're in the audience, right front and center, like you know who's performing. You're literally cheering for every single person that jumps on stage." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I was supposed to do. That's how I was raised." And because of that, we maintained a relationship. So it made it easier when she was on The Voice to hit her manager up and be like, "Hey, you know, I want to feature her. We've been talking for a minute." And it was just a matter of getting through NBC. Lord, I've never been so nervous to send an email in my life. But when they came back and they sent the photos over, I was just like, oh my gosh, we got it. Like, I was like screaming.
That was a major issue too. Like, it was just like, you know, like the presentation, you know, of the magazine and your networking and you building a relationship with Sandy Red as a person, you know, like those are two facets that a lot of people and entrepreneurs don't understand. Like you can be an army of one, and that's cool, but you have to have a network of people that are in places that you are not. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when the opportunity presents itself, you have to have a product that's presentation ready. You know what I'm saying? Yes,
absolutely. You know, and as far as other networking, when it came to Kenyon Glover, when he was featured, that opened up the opportunity for us to network, and he hit me up on Instagram and Twitter and all of that. And then I connected him with Casey Bizboss, owner of Life After Sports, and he actually hosted some of our events for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that opportunity never would have came had I not seen him at HFL, because I wouldn't have known, because I didn't follow basketball like that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there are so many opportunities that came after that that just make this publication such an icon. And that's why we're going into 10 years. I cannot believe it. It's amazing to say 10 years. Like, oh, my goodness.
Like, it's just, you know, like, it just kind of amazes me sometimes, you know, like, we've pushed the envelope every year, for 10 years, from the presentation of the magazine, the types of people who are featured, and people pay attention and people buy it and people are proud of it. They're proud of you. They're proud of me. They're proud to know someone personally that's really doing this for real, It's just amazing. We carry the hopes of a lot of entrepreneurs, with how we conduct this business. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And Kevin Forrest, owner of HFL Magazine and K4S Entertainment, is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio. I think what's so funny is that when we had the 3-year anniversary, we actually had call-ins and the whole city called in. And it was the most beautiful experience because people that called in that had featured the first issue had called in because they remembered it because of the way that they were treated after. I think the biggest thing that we do that's different is that we follow careers after their feature.
Right.
We actually care. We're still showcasing them. We're still showing love. Making sure that people know that this is HFL alumni. All of that kind of stuff. And he will recognize that because they're like, oh, I'm done, but you're still caring about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because most magazines don't do it. Most newspapers don't care. They're on to the next. But once you become featured, you're part of the family. And they're showing love constantly.
Yeah, it's and I think that's a big part of it. Like you said, being a part of that family, that HFL alumni, that is a big deal because normally with independents, and the owner will just, they're trying to get what they're trying to get from it, and then that's it. You'll never hear from them again. You might see them out at an event or something like that, or they may offer you an opportunity to do something you have to pay for or whatever the case may be. But in regards to what you're doing after the fact, no one cares, right? They don't care. And what we do here is we keep up and we care. We don't catch everything, of course, because we're talking at this point hundreds of people, right, going through HFL Magazine. So we don't catch everything, but we do try to keep up with as many people as possible.
Right, and that's what makes it real. And even during the issue, you're featured for 2 months. You are. It's not just one and done. You get featured. You get promoted for 2 months during your entire feature. We're showing love, I think, and that's a big deal because, like I said, most people don't do that kind of thing. They kind of do it for the first week, maybe care about a couple of 2 weeks possibly, but after that, it's on to the next.
Yeah, a lot of times, if you're lucky, because these publications will try to put something out every 30 days, and so because of that, you might get 3 weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And so you would have paid, $100, $200 or whatever to feature in this publication, with okay promotion, and then that's it. You're gone. Whereas with HFL, we could still be talking about you 10 years from now because you just keep doing amazing shit, and you were with HFL, at one point.
Absolutely. And so now you've had choices to change up the magazine, I'm sure, on multiple occasions. What has made you keep it focused on features as opposed to ads?
Well, ad revenue, of course, is where the money is when we're talking about websites and publications and things like that. But my brand, K4S Entertainment, I'm fortunate to be able to have revenue in multiple places, so I don't have to fill out a magazine with a bunch of ads, right? I can keep it people focused because it allows for those people to get the shine or the spotlight, the way that they should without any distractions, and I think that's important. So it's more for them more than me, right? Because by declining to put ads in HFL, like a bunch of ads all over the place, there's certain revenue that I'm leaving on the table, but that's on purpose because I don't want it to compromise the product. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. And I agree. It does. It really does. It gives me joy to see the reaction of people when they're featured, and like realizing that it's not just like one page. They're like getting 3 or 4 pages, and they're just like, wait, what? The reaction is priceless. Oh my goodness. I think you said it right when it comes to people between the digital versus the print copy. Like, I wish I could tape every single one because the reaction is beautiful because it's just like the first thing I say is I'm going to tell my parents that, that kind of thing. I got to get one for my mom. I got to get one for my dad, because it's become that tangible piece that I was featured in this publication, and it looks good and it's quality and it's Black owned, which is a huge thing. And that's one thing too, like what made you decide to keep it Black owned and be the face of it? Because a lot of people will kind of, they might not want people to know that it's Black owned. So it made you like so adamant to make sure that people knew that it was Black owned and to continue to say the face of it as opposed to just, going to get a white face in front of it.
I mean, I think it's honestly, I think it's like a little bit of arrogance. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it was like when people see this publication, it's put together so well that there's no way that they could think that it's all Black. It's all Black owned. And I wanted people to be like, it's a Black owned business giving the rest of these white owned magazines a run for their money out here. You need to know that. You know what I mean? Like, you need to understand that's what's happening. You know what I mean? That same person that you saw, that with the blonde hair and the blue eyes on Bravo and they're on GQ or whatever, yeah, they're in here too. You know why? Because this Black-owned magazine is doing the damn thing, and you need to know that. So it was really more of like an arrogance kind of thing, really. Because of course, if I would have done it the other way, yeah, maybe I would have got ahead a lot more quickly, just because that's just the way the business works. But by doing it this way, it goes to show that you can be Black, you can be successful, you can have a polished product. It doesn't have to be bootleg. It doesn't have to look like you. Like you drew it on construction paper. Like, it can be something good, and it can be Black owned. And there are multiple products out there like that. And it was important for me to, in this space, in the media space, for people to understand that, this is Black. This is blackety Black. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk to the people that run this, you're going to have to speak to a Black man. You're going to have to speak to a Black woman, and you're going to have to get your ducks in a row. Like, this is real business over here. And so it was just kind of important for me to let the world know, like we're Black and we have something to say, and it's not it doesn't have to be some raggedy bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can produce quality products, quality brands as well. And so that was a big, important thing for me, because like you see a lot of times with these other magazines, even some of the mainstream ones that had Black owners, they have Black owners and a partner, and that partner was like a white guy. And the white guy is the one who was able to fund, finance, get the connections, That didn't happen here. You see what I'm saying? Like you get all of this on the strength of Blackness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
And that was important for me. So it was really, really like arrogance. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I can make this shit work, and I can let the world know that it's Black, Black owned. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of course we feature people from everywhere, but I can let the world know that it's Black owned, and they're going to buy it. Period.
Yeah. Period. Absolutely. So you are officially 10 years in the game when it comes to this magazine.
Yep.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I feel like with the magazine, the legacy for me is the amount of people that have been able to leverage it to go to the next level. There have been a lot of people who have, by being an HFL, by having that tangible product and seeing their face next to a celebrity face or whatever the case may be, they've been able to, get shows, get business, get clients, get all of these other things and continue to push themselves and push their business. Like, I want the legacy of HFL to be that HFL was for the people, you know what I'm saying? And I did the best that I could to make sure that everyone benefited from it. So,
and that's what makes you so incredible. The one thing that I will say about you and HFL is that I probably would have given up jewelry making if it wasn't for you, because when I was like at my wits' end, just so incredibly frustrated, Kevin literally said, he's like, I see your jewelry in movies and on television and in theater, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. But now I can say, right? But now I can say I've been featured on Fox. Featured directly on Empire, in one of the highest rated shows, like the highest rated, it was the last show of the first season, which had the highest numbers in television history, actually. I've been featured in several movies. Shout out to Call Center, shout out to Pink Panties, shout out to September Rain. And multiple music videos.
TLC, you did TLC.
Yep, TLC, yes, on TLC. I was featured on the TLC website as well as on TLC, and that was just the most beautiful moment. But had I listened to everyone else that's just like, I used to have this cousin, sister, brother that used to make jewelry, and why are you still doing this, and yada, 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 had I listened to them, none of that would have happened. Well, had I listened to them, I wouldn't even been connected with HFL anyways, because I would have stopped doing jewelry a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's where everything started. People ask, well, how did you get into this? Everybody wants to know how in the world did the little girl from Chicago get connected with the magazine and start writing for them? Because when I talked about my small feature on the cover, the whole world knew about my small feature on the cover because it was on every single social media profile that I had. My face was not shown the entire time that issue was out. And Kevin was like, who is this person that's promoting my magazine?
Right.
It's like crazy.
Yeah,
and then he offered to do an ad for me. And then I had my own feature. And then the ad was running to the fact that it was in every issue, so I had to buy every issue because my ad's in there. But then it came the day when
the whole time. You had an ad in there for almost the whole time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But then came the time when he said, let's try to work together officially, and I was just like, okay. And it was awesome because I was able to officially say that I work at HFL. Not that I'm just supporting it and showing love, but I work there, and I'm helping to write this product, and I'm interviewing these people on behalf of the magazine that I've been supporting since I knew it existed. And it has been so incredible and life-changing, and to be able to give people opportunities, to be able to give people their flowers that I've known for years, and just watching their reactions and watching what they're still doing is beautiful. And I thank you for trusting me and the people that I choose to feature, because I've always heard her like, who is this person? They're not famous, but I'm telling you they're going to do something, and then he sees they're on this TV show or doing this movie or whatever, from that feature.
Yeah, and I mean, and you have a natural eye for that, for being able to kind of pick a person, that is based on their work ethic and based on their vibe, and so it's easy for me to trust you with that, because that's usually something that I kind of keep on myself, because I was doing it for 5-6 years before we started working together, and it does make it easier, to continue the legacy, when you have someone that is able to notice talent and think of things in the same vein, same way that you can. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And Kevin Forrest, owner of HFL Magazine, is my guest here on Danaya Azure Radio, and I'm so happy to have him back because we broke Blog Talk last time. And I'm happy to have him back because we are on the Next Legacy platform service, which is our own platform. I'm part owner of this platform. And so I had to have him back on for this 10-year anniversary and just tell him how incredibly proud I am of him, how incredibly proud I am to be a part of this team. And it's going to keep growing. It's going to keep growing because what you have done with this publication has literally changed lives, and I've seen it. I have seen people go from customer service to now being on multiple movie screens around the world, changing states and all of that because they were featured, because you took the time out to listen to them, because you took the time out to share their story and tell it in a way that it was respectful and it was showing love and it wasn't demeaning. I think that's the biggest thing that I love about HFL is that we support artists. We've never been that publication to just try to get the hottest scoop of what somebody did wrong. We're always doing whatever we can to uplift them and let them tell their stories. Not just what the little snapshot says, but tell their stories for real. And I thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it. I think that's another thing too, like that is important, or it goes back to the question you would ask about, setting apart. A lot of times people will, they'll harp on the negative things because everybody wants the, like, what do they say now? Everybody wants the tea, right? Everybody wants the messy part, well, what are you doing about your cheating husband? Or, what about when you stole this or that? Like, that's what people want to focus on. And with HFL, we might touch on something just because the individual may kind of lead into it, but it's not something that we set out to do. Like, we don't set out to be
right.
Like, oh, well, so how was the divorce? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't we don't do that kind of reporting in HFL.
Yeah, and I think for me, I would say one of my most memorable interviews has to be Derek Dow. And because, like, it was so funny, like, man, I didn't, like, it was, as I was doing the interview, I'm sitting here like, he needs to be the cover. How am I going to convince him to make him the cover? I need to. But it wasn't even the convincing once he got the story, so. Because it was so beautiful to know this person that I met through just networking had turned into this amazing film producer that had stuff on Showtime and was winning indie festivals and was doing all these amazing things. and was like one of the first influencers for real, which is super awesome. Y'all got to go to get that issue. So go to www.k4sent.com and go back and search the issue for Derek Dow. Check that one out, because baby, woo, honey, it was a good one, because it was like, yo, you were an influencer before there were influencers. How in the world? And he was so casual, chill. Like, the funny part was the way he described it. Like, he kind of glossed over it. I was like, pause. Wait, what? Push pause. You just say that you got a car from this company, and you got to drive in the car and get paid to drive in the car. Before there was all this Instagram and all that. What? Oh, you got to be kidding me. We're not brushing over that, honey. We're not dusting over that. But he's still so humble, and you wouldn't know that just right off top of everything that he's done.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's
just got a really, really good story, positive energy. But I mean, that's he embodies HFL, like that hustler.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, when you think of it, the things that he'd been through, but still the accolades that he was able to achieve, along the way, like, in spite of the obstacles or the struggles, personally or business-wise. It definitely needed to be told.
Absolutely. So, last question, what's next for K4S Entertainment, and what's next for HFL Magazine?
I mean, HFL Magazine is, I'm going to pretty much keep doing it. The people are responding well to it. I think this year now, we've gotten, noticed by a lot of different networks. When we put out things now, we do get reported on a lot of the mainstream platforms and things like that, like Fox and CBS and NBC and stuff like that. And so, as long as the people are feeling it, I'm going to keep doing it. With HFL, like K4S Entertainment, that's a little bit of a different story. Ideally, I want to get into movies and media and things like that, like small screen, big screen, and more Black-owned intellectual property, like more movies by us, for us, those types of things. And that would be the next level. That would be that's probably the only thing I haven't done. I've touched on radio, I've touched on print publication. So really, it's just like executive production of movies and those kind of multimedia things that I haven't really touched on yet.
That's what's up. I'm excited. I'm super duper excited. And for those who don't know, what does K4S stand for?
Oh yeah, it's phonetic. It stands for my first initial of my first name, and the phonetic sounding of my last name. So K Forrest, basically. So K4S is just kind of a phonetic acronym for my name.
So I ended with that to say this. Gavin literally made his name, his actual name, turned that into a brand as a household name. Yeah. Do not ever think that you cannot reach for your dreams, because that is incredible. Like, that, for the fact that that is your name and it's ringing bells around the industry still, and now you're 10 years in to an amazing publication, is a huge, huge feat. Like, that is incredible. So tell everybody where they can find you online and they can order their copy of HFL Magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Instagram, K4S_ENT, so K4S Entertainment. And I'm on Facebook, K4S Entertainment. And the publication for HFL is on www.k4sent.com. And I just appreciate the support and the love,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. You are absolutely amazing. We truly appreciate you. This is Danaya Azure Radio. My guest was Kevin Forrest, the owner of HFL Magazine and K4S Entertainment. Make sure y'all go ahead and grab your copy of HFL today. Not now, but right now. Y'all are amazing. Thank you.
Hey, it's K4S from K4S Entertainment, and you're tuned in to the Legacy Platform Service.
Hey, what's up? It's Danaya Azure. Be sure to follow me all over social media at Danaya Azure, DANAYAAZURE, and like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Danaya Designs for You, facebook.com/Danaya Azure Radio, and be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube. Just type in Danaya Azure. Did you know that you can get all of your entertainment news at www.k4sent.com? Learn about the hottest celebrity gossip. Learn how to get those coins right. We celebrate blackness all year long at www.k4sent.com. Be sure to follow us all over social media at K4S_ENT.